Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to BSing Sports, a part of the BSing Network. I'm your host, Ryan. Here with me for every Wednesday fantasy football episode is Tim. Tim, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. Just working, trying to make some trades out for my hurt teams now.
Yeah. Anthony Ross jumping. Thank you for coming back in, Anthony. It has been a while. Let's bring up his comment. Hey guys, it's been a while. The biggest trades of my season happened. In the meantime, I shipped Barkley and Evans for Tyreek and JT. Solid, my friend.
I like
Solid,
that.
in my
I like
opinion.
that.
It
Yeah.
always sucks to lose a guy like Barkley, but obviously with the new regime in Indianapolis, it sounds like JT is going to revert back to old JT. And even if he closely produces what Barkley is going to produce, I mean, Tyreek to over Mike Evans every day of the week. So that's an excellent trade for you there, sir.
Yeah,
Fantastic
I
job.
definitely agree with that.
Yeah, welcome back. I didn't need to do our thing.
Welcome to Fantasy Football Weekly.
Yeah, man. Fantasy Football Weekly. Anthony Ross has another comment first. Then I sent Fields, Foreman, and CeeDee Lamb for the Sun God, D-Hop, and Greg D. Oh, Greg Dulcich. Okay, it took me a second to figure out who he's talking about.
I like that trade too.
I don't know how that one's going to work out for you. I mean, if you're extremely weak at tight end, then I guess. But I mean, CeeDee Lamb, Sun God, and DeAndre Hopkins will probably all produce similar numbers for the rest of the season, somewhere in that neighborhood. Probably, you know what? If I had to rank those receivers, I'd probably say Sun God, MD, not rest because Marquise Brown is on his way back, but Foreman is balling out in Carolina. That's a hard that's a hard one, you know. And then Justin Fields obviously has been QB1 over the last 4 or 5 weeks, so he's really producing mostly because of the ground game. But we don't really care about that in fantasy. We care about results. Now, from a fantasy aspect, he's got the results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely that. And then he said to a non-competitive team, so I don't have to worry about Fields in playoffs. I like that.
That's a good caveat. At least you won't have to worry about that trade biting you in the butt. Getting Sun God and D-Hop, that's gonna be big. And then Gregory Dulcich. Actually, we'll get into Gregory Dulcich in a little bit when we do our starts and sits for the week. But man, welcome back, Anthony. Awesome. Thanks for tuning back in.
Real quick,
do you want to go ahead and do your?
Real quick, for people who don't know who Sun God is, that Amon St. Brown from the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. So Amon-Ra is the sun god of Egypt, so he is shorthandedly called Sun God, which is Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then his brother Equiminius, I don't know what his name means, but it's cool that they both have unique names. It's not like they named one Amon-Ra St. Brown and the other Peter or George St. Brown. They kind of stuck with you. That'd be a little weird, Hey, this is my brother Equiminius. What's your name? Oh, Randall. Like, what? But we're going to start the show out with the start sits. Hopefully you guys tune in and have some good questions for us. I'll go ahead first with the starts, of course, because everybody wants to know who they're playing. Now, this is for, mainly DFS or, just if you're on the fence about certain guys. Tom McCarthy checks in. What's up, guys? What's up, Tom? Can't wait to talk some baseball with you over the winter. Hopefully some exciting moves for Boston. I know as Philly fans, we're looking forward to some exciting moves as well. Tim, I'm going to zoom in, handle the comments.
I got you.
So Week 11 starts, baby. This is who we're looking at. This is, again, for DFS. Obviously, you're going to start Josh Allen, although with the potential weather problem in Buffalo, maybe you're not going to start Josh Allen. We'll get more on that later. This is for DFS and guys maybe you're on the fence about. So first up, we got Daniel Jones here. He's quarterback 16 on the season. That puts him in that high-end QB2 range. First, he's going against the Lions this week, and the Lions have statistically one of the worst defenses of all time. They're just terrible in every aspect of the word defense. So obviously, you're going to fire up Saquon Barkley with confidence, but I say you fire up Daniel Jones as well. This is a guy who averages over 40 rushing yards a game, and he has made some big-time throws when needed to. Again, the Lions' offense is really not that bad. I actually think that this is going to be a problem game for the Giants because those shootout games when the Giants get into shootout games, that's what worries me a little bit because they don't have a ton of weapons on the outside. However, Daniel Jones's rushing upside, I think, vaults him into that low-end QB1 this week. So if you don't have somebody that's on a great matchup or you're dealing with bye weeks or you're looking at a cheap DFS play, Daniel Jones is your starting quarterback this week. Running back, we have Isaiah Pacheco. I know a lot of people are going to be questioning this one here for sure. Pacheco is running back 63 on the season. He clearly has the lead in the Chiefs' backfield. He fumbled on his very first carry last game, and they ended up giving him 15 more carries. He plays on the highest scoring offense in the NFL, and he got a 56% snap share with over 90% of the team's carries. And he's going up against a Los Angeles Chargers team that gives up the second most points to running backs. And with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams coming back, this could potentially be a shootout game. So there's going to be a lot of points scored. I think if you're looking for a cheap buy or if you're looking to fill in on bye weeks, Isaiah Pacheco is the guy here for sure. I think that he is definitely cemented himself as the primary ball carrier with Jerick McKinnon getting a lot of the receiving work out of the backfield in Kansas City. Wide receiver here, it's going to seem a little obvious, but some people are still a little skeptical. Tyler Boyd, who has actually fallen 4 spots since Jamar Chase got hurt. That's why I think a lot of people are skeptical. He was wide receiver 17. Then Jamar Chase got hurt. Now he's wide receiver 21. Look, the Bengals offense, no doubt, misses Jamar Chase, but the Steelers are giving up the most fantasy points to the wide receiver position, and this is a Bengals offense that relentlessly throws the football no matter what the circumstances may be. So, and this is a divisional game nonetheless. The Bengals are 0-3 in the division. They're going to need to win the football game here. And no better way to do that than put it on the shoulders of Joe Burrow and sling the rock around the field. I have no idea whether Minkah Fitzpatrick's actually going to play or not this week, but that's something to keep an eye on, I guess. But I would start Tyler Boyd with confidence in all lineups, DFS plays, and definitely as a filler for bye weeks. And as I promised, we're going to touch on Greg Dulcich. He's a must start this week. He's tight end 35 on the season. However, the tight end landscape's been a little bit shoddy, and he was on IR for the first 6 weeks of the season. However, in 3 of his last 4 games since coming off of IR, he's been a tight end 1. He's had a tight end 5, a tight end 7, and a tight end 11 week. Last week was a bit of a dud, but the Raiders give up the 4th most points to tight ends in a game that the Broncos are going to want to have. They lost against the Raiders last time that they played. So without hesitation, I'm firing up Greg Dulcich as a tight end 1 with some upside. I think him, and despite Russell Wilson's struggles, they have a good connection. So I definitely play Greg Dulcich this week.
To answer Ken Brandt's question real quick, is Bosa playing for the Chargers? Yes, he is. He doesn't have an injury designation anymore. He should be playing Sunday for them. Good takes, Ryan. Good takes on that, Ryan. I like them.
Yeah. I also agree. I like them as well. That's why I made them.
All right, so my sit-on, I'm going full screen.
Okay.
So the first person I'm sitting, it's a little bit safer for me, but you talked about in Buffalo how it's put to be real bad weather there. So I'm going to be sitting Jacoby Brissett. He's facing the 3rd best defense against all quarterbacks, to be honest. And then the Buffalo Bills are only allowing 75.7 quarterback rating. And it's put to be a lot of snow up there from what the weather predicts up there. So I'm definitely saying Jacoby Brissett if you have
to. Jordan Poyer and Tre'Davious White might be back as well too, which is definitely going to be a problem for the Browns passing game. So
now my next one is a little bit on the risky side. I'm picking Josh Jacobs. The Raiders offense is in shambles right now. They don't know what they need to do with running the ball or throwing the ball. And now I guess saw a report that Devontae Adams is hurt with he
was limited today.
But the Broncos only allowed 5 touchdowns all year. 2 of them is from Josh Jacobs in a 168-yard game. So I think they have a game plan for him, and they're going to stop him. My next sit is Michael Pittman. The Eagles have good corners. Darius Slay coming off his worst game yet on Monday night. I think he's going to make a comeback game and shut Michael Pittman down. And then I'm sitting Kyle Pitts against the Bears defense. They only allowed 3 touchdowns through 11 games to all tight ends. Total yards to give up to all tight ends, 380 yards total for the Bears defense giving up to tight ends. And it should be a running game, a running attack game for both offenses. The defense are in shambles, so I'm sitting Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I agree with all those takes. I think Kyle Pitts should, as much as it sucks, because we think that he's a talented individual, I think Kyle Pitts should be on all benches until further notice. There needs to be some sort of sustained success, and kind of the same for Drake London. I know it's going to be hard to navigate the bye weeks, but if you can navigate the bye weeks with better options or guys with better matchups, I would definitely look elsewhere until that there's some sustained proof that Kyle Pitts is going to do exactly what we expect him to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so the question, the title of the show is Why is Standard Called Standard? And I wanted to ask you, why is Standard called Standard? It seems like anybody almost plays PPR anymore in some capacity, whether it be half point or full point. So why is Standard called Standard when the standard seems to be PPR?
I don't know. To be honest, I really don't know. I'm in a standard league now that's not PPR, and I don't get the points and everything. It really bothers me because, like for instance, I think it was Michael Pittman last week had like 3 receptions, but he only had 2 points or something like that. It wasn't very clear to me what the point system was on that, so I got to do some research on that standard league. But I don't like standard league. I'm going to stick with PPR league from now on, or half PPR or something. What do you think standard is, Ryan?
Like I know what it is. I know that obviously receptions don't count for points, and it's a pretty dying way of playing fantasy football. I would have to say a lot of leagues are moving towards points per reception. And rightfully so. I know there are still some people out there in the world that have problems with the fact that receivers can outscore quarterbacks, but that can happen in standard too, just not nearly as often. And to me, I would never play standard. I'd rather chop onions in a kitchen all day than play standard. And if I'm being honest, to me, there's no appeal to it. The draft strategy is so different. Your high volume, low production guys go straight out the window. And kind of it's weird to figure out how you're going to play wide receivers. So for me, I would definitely not ever play standard in my life. But hey, I also wouldn't play best ball either. I think setting the appropriate lineup is part of being a GM, a manager of a fantasy football team. So that's to each his own, really. That's kind of the way that works out. But I personally wouldn't do either of those leagues. Not a big IDP guy either.
We got a question in the comments from Ken Brandt. Now, me and Ryan don't have a lot of defenses in our fantasy league, but Ken Brandt asked what the best fantasy defense so far this season.
I know the Cowboys are number 2 because that's the only defense that I'd really own. The Seahawks were actually up there for a while. I know that they weren't producing greatly in real life, but in terms of fantasy, they were putting it out. So let me check real quick. It also depends on.
I know the 49ers are 12th. I have them in one league.
The Seahawks are 4th. The Cowboys are 2nd.
Is it the Bucks?
No way. I'm trying to think of a defense that forces a lot of turnover.
It's not the Eagles.
No, I don't think it is the Eagles. That's a good question. No, the Eagles are number 3. So I know who 2, 3, and 4 are.
Bears, Bengals, Bills. It's not the Bills either.
I don't think it's the Bills either because they don't. I mean, the Bills are number 6.
Oh man, that's just odd.
The Vikings are 10th. Yeah,
it's not Kansas City, right?
No, I don't think it would be. No, Kansas City's 22nd. Definitely not Kansas City. They're not even a startable defense. While we're thinking about that, Tim Hawkins in the comments says Chris Moore or against Arizona or Juwan Jennings versus Houston. Or yeah, Juwan Jennings. I think he spelled it one. This is tough. So Brandon Cooks did not practice today. Nico Collins was limited. If Brandon Cooks ends up not playing, the move here is definitely Chris Moore. This is exactly what bye week navigation looks like when you got to answer questions like this. Yeah, I think it all depends on whether Brandon Cooks plays or not. If Brandon Cooks does not play, I would go Chris Moore here. If Brandon Cooks does play, I would go Juwan Jennings versus Houston. Although that's just. Hang on a second.
Yeah, I agree with that,
Ryan. So I think there might be an error here because Chris Moore plays for Houston and Juwan Jennings plays for the 49ers.
Come on, Tim Hawkins.
Yeah. So I'll let him hear that and then get back to that. But we're down bad here on bye weeks for wide receivers. If we're talking about Tyreek Hill.
I found it.
Who is it?
The Patriots.
Really? You know what? That doesn't surprise me too much.
Let me see. So it was 6, 7, 5, 12, 28, 16, 8, 10, and 28 the last 9 weeks.
Okay. Hey, guys, would you trade JT Lockett? Moke on YouTube. Moke? Yeah, Moke on YouTube. Hey, thanks for checking in, Moke. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. We're here every Wednesday at 6:30. Hey, would you guys trade JT and Tyler Lockett for Kenneth Walker? I'm assuming that's who that is. And Rondale Moore. I'll let you answer this first, Tim.
Listen, I really like Kenneth Walker in that offense and everything, but I think JT and Tyler Lockett got the best outcomes right now for you because you don't know what Kenneth Walker can do every week in and out yet. Yeah, he had 2 good weeks back to back, and then he had a real bad week. Tyler Lockett will get the passes from Geno Smith. He's been getting targeted nonstop lately, but the last game, unfortunately. And like Ryan said earlier in the day, JT is getting force-fed the ball in the Colts offense now, which is going to help JT stock. So I'm going to keep JT and Tyler Lockett.
Even with Rondale Moore being wide receiver 6, wide receiver 16, and wide receiver 16 over the last 3 weeks?
What's his
8, 10, and 13 targets.
What's his total wide receiver?
He missed the first 3 weeks, so we're not. I mean, it's going to be a little skewed. It's kind of like a Greg Dulcich situation.
Give me Tyler Lockett's. Do you have it up, or you need me to look at it?
I can bring it up. So Tyler Lockett, I'll go over the last 3 weeks just because that's what I did with Rondale Moore. Wide receiver 22, wide receiver 12, wide receiver 30.
I could think the upside for JT is way better than Kenneth Walker. So, yeah, I'm going to keep JT and Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with you. I was just trying to see if I could convince you the other side. I would also keep JT and Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett, it sounds kind of weird, but he's a little bit more consistent than Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore has Marquise Brown coming back either this coming week or the following week, so I would expect his target share to drop significantly, and JT over Kenneth Walker for me rest of season. I know that us dynasty people probably hate to hear that. They were even most fantasy people really, they were just really frustrated with Jonathan Taylor. But as I touched on before, I do believe the new regime simplifying the game plan. They are going to run the football quite a lot, especially because it seems like they're going back to Matt Ryan on a full-time basis. So I would definitely keep JT and Tyler Lockett there. That's a good question, though. So Tim Hawkins admits that he messed up. Said, I messed up. That. So it's Moore versus Washington and Jennings versus Arizona.
I still think it's the same, like you said before. If Brandon Cooks don't play, I think it's more against Washington, and then if Brandon Cooks does play, then it goes to Jennings against Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah. It all depends on Brandon Cooks, who, again, did not practice today. So that's,
Do you know why he didn't practice?
yeah, he's got a hip and a shoulder injury.
Okay. I'm happy I traded all my shares from him. So,
Yeah. I mean, he's one of those guys that people, despite the fact that he produced, he seemed like a quarterback proof QB or wide receiver too for X amount of years. People were always skeptical of him. Same thing with DJ Moore, who has seemingly turned it around a little bit in this second half of the season. He's had some big breakout weeks. Unfortunately, PJ Walker is not starting, so Baker Mayfield is going to be the starting quarterback. Do you think that they stay with DJ Moore's target share?
I mean, they need to. They can't force feed Devontae Foreman the whole game like they've been doing. So either you got to use Terrence Marshall and DJ Moore to get a couple yards done, and Baker Mayfield had been targeting Terrence Marshall more in the red zone than DJ Moore that I noticed for the past. He came in a week ago, took over for PJ Walker, and I don't know why. He was terrible, I guess. But if Baker Mayfield don't feed DJ Moore the ball with Devontae Foreman, they're going to lose every game still. The only chance they have of winning is giving DJ Moore the ball and Devontae Foreman.
Let's talk about the bye week schedule this week because it's pretty rough. So we got 4 teams on bye, which isn't bad. We have another team we had a previous week 9, where there were 6 teams on bye, and week 14, there's another 6 teams on bye. However, there's some pretty impactful fantasy personnel on bye this week. So week 11, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, which means Travis Etienne and Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram as well, Trevor Lawrence, all those guys are on bye. Miami Dolphins, you've got off the top, you've got Tua, Jeff Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki if you've been real desperate at tight end. The Seattle Seahawks. So you've got Geno Smith, you've got Tyler Lockett, you've got DK Metcalf, you've got
Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker. I mean, there's already a ton of fantasy relevant personnel taking a seat, and then you've got the Bucks. I mean, a lot of people are probably a little frustrated that there hasn't been as much touchdown production from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, but Tom Brady's still viable. He's QB 14 on the season. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette, now Rachaad White. I mean, we're talking about Cade Otton for those people that are high on Cade Otton for whatever reason. There's a lot of fantasy relevant people on bye this week. So, it's going to be tough to navigate this field. And this is why depth is so important in fantasy football. If you can't trade away all your depth for studs or to improve at certain positions because injuries and bye weeks do happen. This is more particularly for a redraft thing because in redraft you get one shot at it, whereas in Dynasty you can just kind of move. If it doesn't work out for you, move on. Tim Hawkins asks, is Stafford playing this week? Sat out practice again. So
yeah, he's still in concussion protocol ahead. Oh, that one of the TikTok that I saw.
I'm interested because Sean McVay declines to actually say that this dude has a concussion. Now, he's not come out and said that he doesn't have one, but he's also not confirming it either.
He's being smart with his words. But I want to go back to what you said about depth in fantasy leagues, man. Okay, you texted me last night when I was asleep that my one league, my bench is abysmal. Like
down goes the king, man. You're gonna suffer, dude. You are going to suffer.
Listen, so anyone don't know, I traded for Cooper Kupp about 2 weeks ago, or so, 3 weeks ago. I gave up a lot for him. I gave up Chris Olave and 3 first-round picks for him.
Yeah, 2023 and then a 2025.
Yeah.
I think you slightly overpaid, and I'm not saying that because Kupp is hurt now, but I probably wouldn't have gone over Olave, a 23 first and 25 first myself. But sometimes you got to buy studs if you're all in.
Exactly. And like Ryan said, here goes down the king. My first loss was last week when Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Leonard Fournette all didn't play.
Mark Andrews was out last week.
That too, yeah. Mark Andrews, another big fantasy relevant was on by. And Tim Hawkins said, hopefully it's against me again. It's not happening. Mark Andrews practiced today, and he will play, and he's going to get force-fed the ball.
You are seriously down bad in that league, though. I was looking at your team, and I said to myself that if Jamar Chase was healthy, I might have made a run at Cooper Kupp. But looking at your team, I don't know that I would have, because that would essentially be helping one of my competitors. I'm also contending in that league. And one less competitor in my way is.
I hope you lose this week, and now you're not competing.
Oh, no, I'll still be competing. I mean, that league, like, the records are all very similar, but I have so many points scored. Like, I would probably drop a spot maybe.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. In one of my other leagues I'm in, I'm 6-4, and then second with outscoring everyone in the league by almost 200 points.
Yeah, the points scored thing is so funny. So one of the dudes in is it No Chance? I think it's No Chance. The guy in second place, Joey. He's in second place. He's 8-2, and he has like the 6th or 7th most points scored in the league. It might not even be that high. Like, sometimes dudes are just lucky. So I want to bring this question up to you. I was thinking about this on my drive home the other day. What if fantasy football was formatted so the top 6 records get in the playoffs, but it's seeded based on your points scored, or vice versa? You get in the top 6 point scorers, but you're seeded based on your record.
See, I don't like that. Tim Hawkins asked me a question the other day with the seeding. You gave 2 different answers, so I want to clarify about that.
Mm-hmm.
So it don't go head to head.
No.
You play each other one time?
No, it doesn't go head to head. It's by points scored. That's the tiebreaker.
Why not head to head if you play everyone once?
Because you play some dudes twice. That and points scored gives you like a more grand scheme of how you did in the season versus just one matchup.
No. I wasn't too sure. I gave the wrong answer. Tim said you gave a different one. He never told me what you said, so I will try and figure it out.
Damn, he was being real secretive on you.
Yeah. I don't know why don't text us in the group chat. Like, how are you gonna text me then go and text Ryan right away? Like,
I know you're saying that because he's watching. I know you're saying that because he's watching. Oh, jeez. But yeah, man. So fantasy football, dude, it's been so frustrating this year. I have a redraft league, and I developed this strategy toward the end of like I call it my redraft playing career, because I genuinely just stopped playing redraft. Like, it doesn't interest me anymore. When I'm in a position like I am now that I'm 3-7, I'm kind of out of it unless I sweep out and win by 20 points every week. Which, I mean, it's still possible, and I'm still gonna not ruin the integrity of my matchups. But like, if I lose one more matchup, what am I playing for?
Yeah, I get that. That's why I don't like redraft. At least my keeper league, people still trying to trade you a little bit. Like, I think a trade went down yesterday in my keeper league. It was Devontae Foreman for DK Metcalf.
We had a trade happen in one of our leagues that was pretty interesting, like the last week or so. I wanted to screenshot it and put it on display for this. Let me bring up the
Was it mine?
It might have been. I'm going through our league transactions. Okay, yeah, this was one of them. So it was Darius Slayton, Brian Robinson, and a 23 third for Jeff Wilson.
I mean, the way Jeff Wilson produced the last 2 weeks, I don't hate it.
Yeah, and I don't either. But the funny thing is that trade came from two because of the way the league records are, I'm not going to say the guy who got Jeff Wilson is a non-contender, but he's currently in 9th place, kind of desperate at this point, needs to win out.
Isn't he like 4-7, something like that?
He's 4-6, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have like a significantly high amount of points scored either. So the tiebreakers for him are going to be real tough. But yeah, that was the interesting thing to me is like it. What side of that trade are you taking?
Jeff Wilson. If I'm in dire need of a running back right now, I'm taking Jeff Wilson. And right now, what it looks like, I'm in dire need of a running back, wide receiver, anything but a tight end.
I mean, you'll be pretty good in running backs in that league after Kenneth Walker. I think you've Ken Walker in that league. You have a running back that's on a bye this week. That's fairly significant. I know you just had Ramondre Stevenson on a bye last week.
Leonard Fournette I have on by this week.
Yeah, and you know what? He's injured, but they have the bye week. I think he recovers. I don't know if he's going to take that starting job back, or at least be on the favorable side of a backfield split. Your whole team is falling apart right before your eyes.
Hey, at least I'm in the I already clinched the playoff berth, so that's all that matters.
Hey man, I don't see that asterisk next to your name. That means you did not clinch a playoff berth.
When you look into the playoff chances, I have a 99 and I'm completely blacked out.
Well, Sleeper, that's like a separate individual app from Sleeper. You're talking about that Fantasy Pros thing on the side? Yeah. Sleeper will put an asterisk next to your name if mathematically you're locked into the playoffs.
How am I not? I'm 9-1.
Because you can technically go 9-5 and lose. I mean, look how many 6-4 teams there are in that league. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Theoretically, yeah, you could miss the playoffs because if you win this week, you're locked in. But technically, from 2nd to 8th place, those dudes are 5-5 or better. So in theory, if you lose out, if you score like 80 points a game and lose out, but I mean, at the same time, some of these teams are going to be playing against each other. Z Money XV checking in. What's up, man? Welcome back. A little late, but that's okay. If you got any fantasy questions for us this week, hit us up. We're just kind of BSing right now. We're talking about how Tim's team and his big time competing league is completely falling apart on him, and how he sold his soul to basically lose in the first round of the playoffs. But
damn. So I plan on beating Tim this week.
Yeah. So mathematically, if you beat Tim this week, you secured a playoff spot.
Okay. And the first round of the playoffs, I get a bye, right?
If you get the top two seeds get a bye.
That's all I need. Cooper Kupp should be back by then.
Yeah, you need that bye because if Cooper Kupp ain't back by then, boy, you about to get walked out of the first round.
To be fair, I do have Tyreek Hill on bye this week.
Yeah, I saw that. You do have Tyreek Hill. But like your running backs, I mean, running back's such a volatile position in fantasy football. I mean, I'm running Melvin Gordon out there every week. I'm hoping Gus Edwards just kind of, comes back and takes at least most of the carries from Kenyon Drake. I don't know how likely that is. That's going to be a messy backfield. And then when J.K. Dobbins comes back with the way that they babied him the first time, I can't imagine that he's going to have that whole backfield is going to be a disaster. So if any of the auto drafts league is listening, I'm here for a running back. I do have plenty of wide receivers that I can deal a 1-for-1.
Leonard Fournette for sure.
No, not Leonard Fournette. You need to just sell that team at this point because you ain't making it far in the playoffs.
Oh, come on, man. But to be fair, I do have Nick Chubb and Ramon Stevenson as my two starters. So
those are solid running backs until Nick Chubb, sprains his toe and he's out 4 weeks starting in week 13.
Can you shut the hell up? No, I can't hope Josh Allen or Diggs get hurt because I have them in a different league that I need to win in.
You know what? I'm pretty safe at quarterback, to be honest with you. I got Trevor Lawrence who's the QB9 before his bye week this week, and Jimmy Garoppolo has been a QB1 he's been a QB1 for 3 of his 7 weeks as a starter and a QB2 for the other 3. So, or every week except one, he's been super flex viable. So I'm not really too concerned about my quarterback position. Here we go. Z Money XV. With Kupp injured, I need a wide receiver. This is your dude to talk to right here because he's about looking for 3 goddamn wide receivers right now. I need a wide receiver and a flex. I'm on a 7-game win streak, so this is big. Oh, 7-game win streak. Okay,
I was on a
Mr.
9. It came to an end. It hurts so much.
You're a scrub. Quiet. Brandon Ayuk, Chris Olave, Tony Pollard, Michael Pittman, and Hollywood Brown, who is questionable. Yeah, Hollywood Brown's questionable. I touched on that at the beginning of the show. They did open up his practice window off IR. It's going to be real interesting. His progression is something to keep an eye on throughout the week. I feel like if Zach Ertz was healthy, he would be a definite sit this week. With the injury to Zach Ertz, though, I'm wondering how much they're going to push for him to get back onto the field. And it sounds like Kyler Murray is going to be out this week, too. So with him missing multiple weeks, that's something to keep an eye on. I'm fading Hollywood Brown for now, but I would keep an eye on it. Wide receiver. Go ahead.
The 2 players that would start would be Chris Olave and Tony Pollard.
For me, it's Chris Olave and Michael Pittman Jr. Zeke's going to come back this week and eat into the carries. Tony Pollard's going to go back to a relegated workload. But Michael Pittman Jr. is the unchallenged wide receiver 1. Matt Ryan being back at quarterback at least makes Michael Pittman Jr. fantasy viable, and Jonathan Taylor as well. And then Chris Olave is just Chris Olave. Jarvis Landry was back healthy. You didn't really hear his name. He's the undisputed number 1 wide receiver in the Saints offense, no matter who the QB is. I think both of those guys are talented enough to make him relevant. He does say Pittman Jr. against the Eagles defense, though. I just watched Terry McLaurin walk all over Darius Slay. That, and I see Michael Pittman getting the targets, getting the volume. The Colts could be behind in that game, have to force to throw the football a little bit. And the one guy that they're going to consistently throw to is Michael Pittman. So I think that the opportunities are there, whereas I can't say that firmly for Tony Pollard.
What about Brandon Ayuk then?
See, I don't know about Brandon Ayuk. Well, let's talk about a super fade from the San Fran offense. We'll talk about the San Fran offense. I'm not in on Brandon Ayuk, but let's answer Parker's question first.
Okay.
Hey, thoughts on Kittle and JT for Derrick Henry and Kmet? Already did the trade, so hopefully you don't think it's too bad. I don't think it's too bad. I think Cole Kmet being tight end 5 over the last 3 weeks is a very promising sign. But Z Money, stick around. We're going to talk about the San Fran offense for a second.
Yeah, I like the trade.
Derrick Henry and JT, I mean, to me, that's a wash. It's tit for tat. You've got top-tier running back for top-tier running back. Let's just get into it, right? So the San Fran offense, the emergence of Christian McCaffrey has caused a huge problem for the San Fran pass catchers. Between him and Elijah Mitchell carrying the football 32 times,
even Debo got some carries.
Debo Samuels hasn't had a wider. I got to read out. I saw this weird stat on Debo Samuel, and it's going to be shocking. He hasn't had a wide receiver 1 week in over a month, and it's the only wide receiver 1 week he's had all year.
Oh wow!
Since Christian McCaffrey has gotten traded to San Francisco, Debo Samuel has finished as wide receiver 45 and wide receiver 58.
Well, Jimmy G likes to check down to running backs all the time.
Well, that's what Jimmy G does. He doesn't like to push the ball down the field.
Exactly.
George Kittle, tight end 7. Tight end's been a little washy this year. It was touchdown dependent. Without that touchdown, he had 5 targets, 3 catches. Not bad. And then he finished as tight end 31. Brandon Ayuk had a wide receiver 11 week. He did catch a touchdown against the Rams. He had 6 targets, 6 catches, solid week. This past week, wide receiver 33, good, not great. I think at this point in time, like Debo Samuel's value is kind of the odd man out here. Kittle is kind of the tight ends have all been terrible this year. I talk about it every week. Tight ends just been a mess. The emergence of Christian McCaffrey, how much they want to run the football, and how dynamic he is hurting Debo Samuel so bad.
Yeah, definitely. Because one, Debo wasn't running the deep routes for Jimmy G to throw to him to begin with. So he was running those like two step slants and running the run ball the catch that for
He's great
yards
at
after
yards
catch.
after catch.
That's the one, yards after catch.
Yeah, great. Him, Kittle,
Yeah.
and McCaffrey are all
Top
number
three.
two, are all number 2 at their position in yards after
Mhm.
catch since 2019.
And listen, we all know Jimmy G is a check down guy. Kyle Shanahan knows it. They're going to keep doing it. That's why they want to go get Christian McCaffrey, so he can do the check downs nonstop.
Now, I'm not totally out on Debo. I think that he can explode in certain weeks. He's dynamic. He did have 4 carries for 27 yards. That's the type of guy he is. But to me, it's alarming. I don't think we can consider Debo Samuel a wide receiver 1 anymore for the rest of the season. I think that he's in that mid wide receiver 2 category. I just don't think that he's going to get the work that is required of a wide receiver 1. And I think that this kind of drops Brandon Ayuk into a high wide receiver 3 range. I think George Kittle, he's a low end tight end 1 only because tight ends have been horrible this year, not because he's done anything, really worthy of being a tight end 1. The offense has changed drastically with the addition of Christian McCaffrey, and not in a good way for the pass catchers for fantasy football.
Yeah, definitely. I think we talked about it yesterday. With the San Fran offense, they're gonna use probably, if I was the offensive coordinator, try to get like a 2 running back offensive scheme and have one run the check down and a play action pass or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So
Now, Elijah Mitchell, most of his touches were between the tackles, which is a fair use of Elijah Mitchell because you don't want Christian McCaffrey taking that beating. So him having 18 carries against a fairly weaker run defense is kind of like, okay, let's see how sustained this is. At the same time, the fact that it happened once at all is mind-blowing.
yeah, exactly.
Parker says traded for Derrick Henry so I could have him in both leagues. A little risky. I don't prefer that. I'll tell you why when I'm done reading this. And I sold JT high after 1 good week. Komet greater than Kittle for me, so I thought it was an easy accept. I like the deal. I don't think it was an easy accept. I'm not a huge fan of having the same dude in multiple redraft leagues or, all my leagues. Because if Derrick Henry rolls his ankle next week and is out 4 weeks, unless you got some depth in those leagues, you're really, really struggling there in both leagues. So that's my take on that. I don't like it, especially if I'm in 2 leagues. If I'm in 2 leagues, I try to not have the same guy in both of those leagues.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Even in my dynasty leagues, I hate having the same guys, and I have a lot of the same guys. Like I got Mark Andrews in 3 leagues.
You need to trade him in one of them.
I'm not going to trade him in any of them. Maybe junk traders.
Yeah. So, but Komet Kittle rest of season, I don't think that that's a bad move. We talk about it a lot in the beginning of our fantasy football shows. Running quarterbacks really like their tight ends, and if Justin Fields has shown anything the last few weeks, he's shown that he can really run the football well, and that he can really target his tight end, especially in the red zone. I don't hate that in the slightest in redraft. Now, in Dynasty, I'm still a little skeptical because Cole Kmet's full body of work is not near that of Kittle's. If I was rebuilding, I would sell Kittle for Kmet, but I'm not really. So, but yeah, it's that's a good deal. I don't hate that deal. I think you get top tier running back for top tier running back, and then you get a tight end who could be a mid tight end 1 the rest of the season. I think that his usage is right there. I don't have any faith in any of the other receivers in the Bears receiving core, so that's a solid deal for me.
Yeah, I like the deal. I didn't hate it.
You said you might trade Mark Andrews and drunk traders, and Tim just made a move in that league, so we'll see.
I saw it too.
Dropping a tight end, making some space there. He coming in hot with the offers.
I saw him too. I thought he sent me a trade request. But Z Money said, if I'm Debo, I'm kind of mad, to be honest. He's taken away from me. Debo's not going to be mad. He got paid a lot of money to be there now. And it kind of prevents him from being injured too much, really. So he's taking less carries away from him. And Debo knows what he can do. So, Tim Hawkins,
Hell
you
no,
will
I'm not
unpack.
doing Mark Andrews for Mike Williams. That's not
You
even
will unpack if
realistic.
you think I'm doing that.
In a tight end premium league, no. In a non-tight end premium league, I would at least entertain that offer. Let's
won't.
end the show on one great debate because I know you and I have difference of opinions on this. Who's the benefactor of the Cooper Kupp injury?
I know you're not gonna like mine, but I think Allen Robinson is.
Okay.
I just think Robinson can fall into a slot position and do the slant routes that Cooper Kupp was running. So that's why I
Robinson's
think.
never played the slot in his career. It's always been an X guy on the outside.
But I get your point. I do, but he's still able to run slants, and he probably will be Stafford's first target now over anyone else, other than maybe Higbee.
Z Money says hold on to Cup or trade for rest of the season on 7-3. 7-3 is a good spot to be in. We just touched on it earlier, not a lock for the playoffs, but if you win, one, maybe two more games, which is very possible, could definitely do it. But do the Rams even make it? How's your league set up? Because the fantasy playoffs should be week 15, 16, and 17 in most leagues. Either way, I'm holding Cup. Yeah, Parker. I'm holding Cup for sure. He should be back for fantasy playoffs. And that'd be a great addition for your team right then and there. So 7-3 is a good spot to be in. If you were 5-5, I would consider moving him, but 7-3 is a good spot to be in. But yeah, so I think it's Ben Skoranek, man. Ben Skoranek got 7 targets after Cooper Kupp went down in that game.
But that's not Stafford.
Stafford's gotten Skoranek quite a few decent fantasy weeks. He's had Skoranek might have more points on the season than Allen Robinson does. Look, here's the reality of it is that Allen Robinson just cannot separate. And his best skill when he was in Chicago was beating man coverage because he's a big physical wide receiver. He can't separate. The Rams offensive line can't give Stafford or Wolford any time to throw the football or give time for Robinson to separate down the field. Skoranek's been filling in the slot with Kupp. He's run the slot routes. He's a very similar type of wide receiver. He's short. He's shifty. He's not fast, but he's quick. He's got good hands. Higbee will probably benefit more too. I'm still out on Allen Robinson. I know I'm starting him in one of my leagues, but that's because I'm like halfway between contending and rebuilding. And I think Robinson does have some red zone upside. He's actually tied for second in the NFL in end zone targets with 10. But I think the real volume winner here is Ben Skoranek. That's just
the sleeper app agreed with me.
Yeah, well, I disagree with the sleeper app because they're two different kinds of receivers. I just don't think that Robinson is.
I guess we'll find out this week.
We'll find out over the course of some weeks. I wouldn't hold 1 week to that. It was good checking in on y'all. I'll probably start Olave and Pollard just because of Cowboys bias. I don't think Pollard's a bad start. I'm curious how they use him and Zeke when Zeke comes back healthy. So I don't think that it's a horrible decision.
I can't see them stop not using them anymore. He was good for them for the last 2 weeks.
Sure. But Jerry Jones is the end-all, be-all in Dallas, and he said that Zeke's the starter. So that's kind of – and Zeke will get the goal line touches. That's just the fact that he is. But, yeah, I'm a big Ben Skoranek guy. I actually have him starting in my DFS this week. He's only $3,900. He's super cheap, and I'll take anybody that's going to get 7 targets at $3,900 for DFS. So, Tim, do you have anything else that you want to add before we sign out here?
No, sir. I'm good.
All right. Well, that's it here from BSing Sports. Don't forget to check in every Wednesday at 6:30. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. Z Money, go ahead and tell us next Wednesday how you did with your decision to start Tony Pollard. I'm sure I'll keep an eye on it anyway. But yeah, part of the BSing network here on BSing Sports, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Have a good night, guys.